Dorothy, whose group are you in? Oh, you're together, okay. It's not picking up everybody. Oh, how annoying. Okay, so as I said, we're just going to be recording these sessions over the next 6 weeks. 8 weeks with your presentations as well. So they will go online and you can look at them on Blackboard. And first of all, it helps you reflect on your own process. It helps me reflect on my process. And it also allows you to look at the material again and again, because students say to me, we went through that very quickly, the slides are good, but it's all the incidental conversations that are also quite important, especially in seminar groups. I think it's a very useful tool to have, and I might do funny things like make sure that I'm in the thing, but just ignore me. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to do today. Is we're going to look at market research, because what you're going to be doing is observational studies in about 40 minutes, and talk to you about something that I'm going to mention now, but I don't want you to worry about it too much, because in the last 2 weeks of this module, when you start putting your report together, this will be more important. But why I'm kind of focusing on this now is because in marketing, as a marketing professional, we use the soft stack planning system quite a lot. So we use this framework to help us plan for our annual marketing activity, but generally also do some long-term planning as well. And I think it's quite a neat way of you putting your plans together and thinking about how you're going to structure your ideas. Has anyone heard of the soft stack plan? No? I don't know if it's just I can't believe it's a UK thing. It's definitely a US thing, but looking at June to see if she's heard of it. Okay, but it is very particular to marketing, but I think it helps in brand management, and that's why I'm kind of focusing on it. So it asks the question about, number one, where are we now? That's the kind of analysis that you're doing. So it's a sort of set of questions that leads you to create the answers that you can then almost answer in your planning. So the key question is, where are we now? What's the situation? That's when you do all the kind of consumer insight, you do the macro analysis, the SWOT, competitive analysis, look at your internal capabilities. What have we got right now, here and now? We've got no money, we want to start a business, and there's 3 people. But generally, that's kind of the starting point. And that's when all this market research and analysis is very important that I've been asking you to do, looking at trends, etc. We then sort of ask the question, where do we want to be? So where are we now? Where do we want to be? And I talked a little bit about this last week when I talked about our vision and mission. And we're thinking, you don't have to do it this way, but we think in kind of 5 objectives, 5 S's. One of them is about selling, serving, sizzling, speaking, and saving. And these are kind of tactical words. They're slightly kind of marketing spiel, but they can help. So the key here is to think about this in terms of objectives. You might not want to use these 5 S's, you might want to come up with your own. Certainly they should be SMART objectives, but you want to come up with your own objectives and think about, okay, what are we aiming to do? What's our objective? Where do we want to be? The next bit here So this is the kind of overall vision, the strategy, kind of the bigger picture. In this bit, it's more about the detail. Yeah, it's a bit more tactical, as we say. That's more strategy, this bit, and this is more tactical, the kind of doing. And we ask the question, okay, we've got our objectives, we've got our kind of vision of where we want to be. The question is, how do we get there? Sorry, this one. How do we get there? They're both part of it. And in this how do we get there, we're starting to combine strategy and tactics. We're starting to combine our vision with actually what we're going to do. And here we've got this what we call stop and sit strategic plan. And I don't worry about this too much. I'm just introducing this to you so you start thinking about maybe planning in this way, especially in terms of your marketing mix, in terms of your marketing strategy. So here, you're thinking about your positioning, your objectives, your target audience. You're thinking about how you're going to integrate that. You're also thinking about a sequence of events. What needs to happen first, then what. That's when you do a lovely Gantt chart. And the detail is the tactics. Yeah, the detail is exactly what are you going to do to get to where you want to get to. So this is when you look at the exact content plan. So you take your marketing communication plan, you take your distribution plan, and you look at the detail of it and map it out effectively. You can map it out in lots of different ways, which we'll talk about. But this is kind of how you know what you've achieved. So you should be able to use this and go back to your strategy. So this is where we want you to be. This is how we're going to do that. And then you can start measuring whether you've done what you set out to achieve. So the SOSTAC plan, I think, is a really good way of understanding your strategy and your tactics and what needs to be pulled together in order to achieve all of those. And this will be on Blackboard, so you can look at this in your own time. And as I said, in the last 2 weeks, we'll look at this in more detail, so don't worry about this too much. The strategic bit here, as you can see, is about how do we achieve our goals. The objective setting is, when we talk about KPIs, key performance indicators, it's about how do we know we've done what we said we're going to do. Yeah? If you say, right, my objective is to, in the next 4 modules, this semester, I want to get a distinction. Yeah? How are you going to get a distinction? Well, you're going to have to work very hard, and you're going to have to consistently keep up with the work and go a little bit beyond. You're going to have to be organised, self-disciplined. You're going to have to manage your time very well. So there's some real key tactics that you're going to have to employ to get that distinction. How do you know that you've got a distinction? How do you know you've achieved what you set out to achieve? What's the key performance indicator? The mark. Yeah, exactly. So it's the mark. The key KPI, I don't know why I'm pointing there, the KPI, which is a measure of saying, right, you've achieved what you've achieved, is what we call a key performance indicator. And that example that I gave you is your grade. I want to get a distinction. This is how I think I'm going to get my distinction. At the end of it, you can say, yeah, I got my distinction. Great. What I've done is worked. If you didn't get a distinction, then you'd have to go back and say, okay, what bits did I not do in order to meet my objectives? My objective was to get a distinction. What did I not do? And you reflect and you go back and hopefully do something differently. It's not a disaster. Hopefully you get a merit instead, and you call me and say, I got 68, please give me 2 extra marks. And you got 68, I'm really sorry. Let's look at what you can do to then get a 70 or a 71. Okay? So that's broadly it. And this is a lovely, I just love this. It just really outlines exactly what we do in business. This is what marketeers do. And we sit there and we work out all these different elements, which again we'll go through in more detail when you come to write your report. But I think it's quite nice for you to have a heads up. Have a look at this to see what you're expected to kind of put into your reports before. So you can have a look at it and go, oh right, okay, that's what she's talking about. That's how we can put retail in there, and we can put selling in there, and we can put distribution or operations in there, and okay, yeah? So this is a chance for you just to, I don't like just putting stuff on Blackboard without explaining it to you, otherwise you'll say, what is that? So the SourceStack plan is just another tool, like the business canvas that I gave you, to show you a way of mapping out your business plans, okay? So, we're going to not do all of this today because this links to next week's a little bit. The only thing I want to show you is the first bit, which is about market research. So that's what you're going to be doing today. That's what you should have been doing. And market research isn't just about Googling stuff, cutting and pasting and saying, there's my analysis. That's half of it. That really helps. That's secondary research. Secondary research means, who knows what secondary research means?
Secondary research?
Yeah.
So outside research that's already done.
Yeah. So it's research that's already been done. It's all the stuff that we can find on the internet, all the knowledge that's already out there that you look at, you synthesize, and you critically evaluate. Research is also about the data that you collect, the stuff that you actually go out and find out. So today's example of your mystery shop is an example of primary data collection. It's when you go out, and today you're doing an observational study. Okay, there's lots of different ways of doing a primary research. What's another way? Today we're doing observation and writing down our findings. What's another? Yeah.
If you conduct surveys?
Yeah, exactly, like SurveyMonkey or one-to-one interviews. That's a really good way, and I really urge you to, once you start developing your brand identities, testing that brand identity, maybe doing a focus group or something and finding out what people really think about your brand and your idea. And then you can take a view, you can collect all that data and hopefully make decisions based on it. So today is, as I said, market research is an essential part of starting your business, and today is an element of that. You're starting your own businesses, and I'd like you to go out there and start collecting some data. And hopefully the aim is that it will help minimise uncertainty and risk in your business. So insight and knowledge that you get from data generally is there to help you do two things: minimise your risk, help you kind of plan for uncertainty, give you that knowledge so that you can make these, as we said, strategic judgments and decisions, these decisions that you need to make in order to build your business. So that's what we're aiming to do today. For example, you can get information about your customers. So today when you do your mystery shop, you might actually also be doing observational study about the service levels that you get, but you might also be looking at the way that potentially your own target audience shops, the sort of experience that they have, but also the type of experience that you have is quite important, and logging that is quite important. Don't worry too much about the B2C and B2B. B2C means business to consumer, that's business to consumer. B2B is business to business, yeah? So don't worry about that too much at the moment. It's an important thing to understand, but it's not so relevant at the moment. Understanding your competition, yeah? That's really important, what we call benchmarking. To really understand what your competition's doing, therefore what you might do differently, what you might do the same. You might choose to do things differently or the same. And really why customers would buy from you and not the competition. Why they might switch from one brand to another. That's really important. And that's what you're kind of going in, doing this mystery shop with a real business head, hopefully, really thinking about these key elements of what it is to run a business. And we're looking at one element today, which I'll show you. I'll show you the elements that we're trying to focus on. So competition, understanding your consumer, and understanding what you might do differently. So as we said, there's lots of different research, field and desk research. So field research is face-to-face, like I said. Today we're doing a mystery shop. So today we're going out there into the safari and doing some field research. And that's different from when you send out a questionnaire. That could be seen as desk research in a way, where you send out a SurveyMonkey questionnaire. And the design of research should help with interpreting your data and data processing. So one of the things we're doing today is an observational study, but what you've got to think about is how that data is going to be helpful to you. There's no point in just going out and doing a mystery shop and looking at, what the service level's like and how the retail store environment is, etc., what the competition's doing. Really, you need to be asking yourself, okay, how is this data helping us? What can we get from this data that we can use in our own business reports? And that's what I'd like you to present next week. I'd like you to tell me how this observation has helped you to maybe make decisions or helped you to think about things in a certain way, or helped you to think about your competition in a certain way, whatever it might be. These are lots of different ways of presenting the data. So next week, when you present your observational study, think about how you want to present it. Do you want to do a little graph, or do you want to just take some pictures? You could even do something interesting like a mood board or something to show the essence of your level of service. Just think of different innovative ways of communicating the data that you've collected. Okay, so these are just different types of research. Obviously, the type of research that we're doing today, what do you think in terms of resources and time and effort? What do you think? Is it quite... You're going to be out there for 2 hours, then you're going to have to be collecting the data, then presenting it. Do you think it's quite resource heavy, or do you think it's quick, cheap? What? Lisa, tell me.
Yeah, it's absolutely resource heavy. So it's one of the, the expensive market research you ever can launch, like qualitative research.
Yeah.
But mostly it's like the best data you can get because you're close to the customers and to your target group. So it's more or less like a focus group.
Yes, exactly. So there's a cost benefit. The cost is that it's quite resource heavy. The benefit is that you're getting quite a lot of rich data that's customer facing. It's you can't get any closer in a way. Okay, so that's about the market research that you're going to do today. We're going to link selling and operations next week, so I won't put this up on Blackboard, and you don't really need it unless you really want it. I can put it on Blackboard, so tell me whether you want it or not. I'm now going to give you the mystery shop brief and take you through some of the key elements. As I said, it will be good for you to think outside the box a little bit. Think about what data you need to collect for your own brands that you're developing. I don't know much detail. I haven't purposely got into too much detail about your brand and brand development at the moment, because I want you to work with Serena on that a little bit and do market research and understand whether you have a market for it or not. Next week we will talk about your brands in more detail to make sure you're on track, but use this data. Think about how this data is going to help you. If I haven't put something on the list that you think is useful for you to find out, add that. Make that something that's important to you. So I suggest that before you go off to do this mystery shop, that you spend a little bit of time planning. Yeah? Don't just go off and do it. So let's talk about what you need to do. So can I just get a feeling for the type of products that you're doing? Because we're going to Selfridges, the reason... Save. Oh. I'll save it anyway. The reason I've asked you to go to Selfridges is that it's a multi-branded store and you've kind of got everything under one roof, and it's a very particular environment because you've got the Selfridges experience and then you've got the branded store experience as well. So there's another layer than if you just go to Bond Street or Marylebone High Street. That doesn't stop you, hint hint, from going to the equivalent standalone flagship store and comparing the different distribution. Yeah? And obviously you need to think about e-commerce, you need to maybe think about the standalone boutique as well as department store, because department store is more like a wholesale environment. Yeah? And I've just said Selfridges because it's closer, because you've got Bond Street, Marylebone High Street, Selfridges all in one place. If you start going to Harvey Nicks and Harrods, you know, it's a different experience. But maybe you want to do that as well and extend your research to other department stores. But that would be enough to look at standalone boutiques on the high street, e-commerce and department store. But I'd like you to start off with department store today, and you might want to add to your data collection, but these are the key elements that I'd like you to think about, okay? At least, this is like minimum. So if you could write these down, I haven't printed it off, but I'll keep it on the board for now. So we're looking at store concept, as we talked about in the PowerPoint lecture, today. On the PowerPoint slide, one of the aspects is the store concept, the environment. Why have I put I've put atmosphere, why have I put energy in inverted commas?
Kind of like the aura that it gives.
Yeah.
It's not specified, but it's more of like an emotional thing too.
Yeah, exactly. I think it strongly links with aspects of things like memory, you know, that we were talking about, which are the kind of intangible, as June said, the aura, you know, the elements. Okay. Can you see that better? Sorry. Is that better? Can I switch this off? I actually want to throw this keyboard. I feel very... I'm trying to do it so it's... Okay. All right. So basically, atmosphere, energy, that kind of relates to the intangibles but tangible aspects of store concept, store environment, that sort of thing. But I think people are part of that as well. It's not just the kind of physical, tangible elements of the store environment that are important. Parvo and Lisa, I've got another one for you, so you have to hang on because you're not part of the other group. So I'd like to discuss that with you later anyway, so bear with me. Okay, so atmosphere, energy, store concept, experience, generally. I've just put some words up here. They're not in any order. Some of them might be more important, some of them might not be, but they're just a guideline. They're just a way of you starting to think about what you need to do. Maybe you want to look at product, position of the store, and certainly within Selfridges, that's quite important. Where is the concession in amongst all the other concessions, and why is it there, and how much square footage has Selfridges given them, and all that sort of thing, yeah? Because you're also thinking about, you know, business has to be profitable as well. They need to make money, as well as think about the brand reputation and the brand's position and the brand values and equity, etc. So as part, not just the branding aspects, but in terms of the business and how that works with Selfridges as a brand, for example. You might want to look at product. You've learnt about heritage the other day, did you? You might want to think about heritage. What did you think about the whole experience overall? Did it contribute to brand value, equity, all of those big things that we talk about? Try and relate it to the branding lecture that I gave you. Try and make all those links that we're presenting. What about the application to multi-channel? So you're going to look at the consistency of the brand elements. As we said, the integrated elements of distribution and brand positioning. So therefore you do have to look at a standalone boutique as well as Selfridges, as well as the e-commerce site. Yeah. If you really want, you can look at the Selfridges e-commerce site as well as the branded e-commerce site. I would if I were you. And look at what the experience is. Selfridges site is, I don't know, quite busy sometimes. I get a little bit, but then if I go straight to Dior or whatever, it's a different experience, isn't it? So think about the effect of that and the relationship between that and the brands. For some reason, this has gone all highlighted in a really weird colour. So these two elements I've left for last. Service is hugely important, yeah. The kind of people-human aspect of it and comparing that in terms of the multi-channel. And the key here is I'd like you to think about something that I think is of interest to me, so I'm collecting data as well. But I think is of huge importance, just the fact that we have a really diverse group of individuals here. And I want to know how this variable affects your experience. The variable being culture. Yeah? How the intercultural diversity of this group, does it and how does it have an effect on your experience? Is it different? Is it the same? So looking at your expectations versus your actual experience in relation to culture. And each group, I think, has quite a diverse cultural mix. Would that be right in saying? Yeah? And I think that's an important, as I said, variable to look at. We can't do gender, unfortunately. Gender would have been an interesting one. And I think in terms of age, I don't know, we're all a very not we as in, you guys are all a very similar age, aren't you? So I don't think that would be a very interesting variable to look at. The other variable which might be quite interesting in terms of diversity is the backgrounds that you're from, not cultural backgrounds, but the knowledge backgrounds that you're from. So some of you have done law, some of you have done architecture, some of you have done accountancy, some of you have done business. So if you think there are any other factors that are affecting your expectation versus your experience, then include that into your findings. Yeah? Because you're thinking about the customer experience, which is really, as I said again in the lecture this morning, the customer experience and the customer journey is really important, and that's what we're trying to measure in a way. We're trying to measure that through the brand elements, brand concepts, brand marketing strategy. So, anything else you've observed? Obviously, interesting. You want to put that in, that's fine. And please present this, so write it up nicely, present your data the best way you like. You might want to do a vlog, like a video diary. That's how you might want to do it. So I'll tell you how you're going to do it in a minute, but one person might want to video. That might be difficult though when you're in a store, because they'll be like, why are you videoing your friend shopping? So that might be a bit difficult. That would be fantastic to video it, but I think it would be a bit tricky. You could, after you've come out of the experience, you could interview each other. Yeah? So you could video each other, for example. That's how I would do it. If I was doing it with Dorothy, I'd go, right, Dorothy, let's go. And then when we came out, I'd video Dorothy and I'd say, okay Dorothy, what was your experience like? Tell me about it, and blah blah blah. And, you know, that would be quite a neat way of doing it and uploading it and then showing it to everybody next week. You do a quick little two minute video and then explain the data. And that could be quite a rich way of doing it. I mean, it, you know, we won't put it on YouTube, I promise.
Everybody says that.
What, do all the teachers say that, Pavo?
No. Like, I mean, everybody in the world say that. When they say I won't post it, they will.
They do. Oh, so cynical. So young and so cynical. No, I think you're right. Everybody wants a piece of celebrity, don't they? Right, okay. So, here we are. Where's group 1? So, you are LV and Dior. Group 2? Chanel and Hermes. These are fashion brands, but you can please relate this to any other. I put a couple of beauty brands in there and accessories, okay?
I think we're 1 and 2 is doing the same.
Oh, sorry.
Group 1 and 2.
No. Sorry, just look, I'm really sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to delete this right now in front of you. It never was there. This is called interactive teaching. Real-time teaching. Okay, so group 1 in Roman italics is, okay, so I'm going to put that here. Chanel, Hermes, are you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Group 3 is NARS and Bobbi Brown, okay? And you're doing beauty anyway, aren't you? Yeah, good. Pablo and you're going to both of the showroom, so that's slightly different. Okay, so I want you to go there. But we'll, yeah, so we'll talk about that later. Okay, so everybody clear about the brands they need to do? You clear about the brief? Clear about what you need to do? I'd like you to go off at 1 o'clock really. So you've got 5 minutes. I'll sit here for the next 5-10 minutes. Well, I'm going to be here, but if you've got any questions, it'll be good if before you whiz off that you have a plan of action. My suggestion is that you don't all go off in a group. Yeah. So maybe you two do LV and you two do Dior. Yeah. And the same with the other groups. Split up and then do vice versa. Yeah. So I would like you to both do LV and Dior, and you to do LV and Dior, but maybe not at the same time. It depends. It's up to you. I mean, they're not going to know that you're all friends unless you start chatting together. So the same with you guys, and the same with you. Split up, but do NARS and Bobbi Brown. But please both do NARS and Bobbi Brown and get that experience, okay? And how are you going to approach this? What's your mindset going to be when you go and obviously you're out there, you've got your like secret camera out there, but what are you going to also really try and do? You've got to do a little bit of an acting exercise. So what are you going to, as a mystery shop, what are you doing?
To pretend you're actually...
Pretending I'm
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to, please don't say Nikki told us to buy things. I don't want you to go out and buy Chanel handbags.
Mom, my teacher told me.
Yeah, exactly. Shami's got the, I did not ask them to buy a Chanel. So you can go out and you can, if you want to do some shopping, that's fine. But it's about, you're pretending that you're going to buy something. So really try and get into that shopping experience, like right to the point where you should even make them feel like you're going to buy something and say, oh, actually, I changed my mind. I think maybe I'll come back next week. And really push them. It might make you feel uncomfortable, but you might get, that's a really good way of pushing them to get the data you need. Because at that point, they should be saying, yeah, so they should be saying,
Maybe you should change your clothes.
this is what French exactly. Are you worried about that? No.
Well, we should go there. Like, I was thinking about buying a boat, but maybe a or a jet.
Yeah, exactly. You could be husband and wife.
Or a 30 years anniversary.
30 years. Yeah. I said I'd buy it at Valentine's Day. I promised her eventually. Okay. So the idea is that the way you're dressed shouldn't matter at all, should it? Really? You should go there and you should be treated in the same way. Culturally, I'd be really interested if you're treated in a different way, because the store staff are also culturally diverse, aren't they? Yep. So what judgments are they making about you? What judgments are you making about the store staff? Are they meeting you halfway culturally? Are they meeting your cultural needs as well? Yeah? Maybe you want to speak in your own language. I don't know, even though you won't understand what she's saying. you know, just really get into a nice little acting role. So decide who's going to be what, decide what role you're going to take, and who's going to be the purchaser and all of those things. So I really want you to map out and get a clear idea of what your game plan is before you go there today. And I'm going to walk up with you, so we'll aim to walk up in the next, let's say, do a bit of planning, another 10-15 minutes, think about what you're going to do, and then we'll head off, okay? I need to go and get my coat. So I'll leave you here while I get my coat. Do you need this printed out? Would that be? Should I go to my office and print it out? This just doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. Let me go and print that out. Where's my handbag? I'll just quickly go and print that out and get my coat. Do some planning.
Okay, so I know where it is.
Yeah. And then on the second,
Then we meet
yeah.
divide out.
Do you have like programs on the graphics with the big environment?
Maybe one.
Like based on our skin.
And your.
It's on the ground, there's accessories as well.
I did see
So, you know this,
Chanel, but they were
the color is like everything in one store.
yeah, it's like
Oh, okay. You asked for
but I don't go to
because I know the shoes
yeah.
are.
There's one shoe section, and there's one going down.
Okay, so we have to go to different. Okay. And make sure you check the
Do you want to
for everything.
on the
And just
maybe you guys can
compare
and then we'll take that
How are we gonna make?
I'll add you guys by the
You know, if we go device, we don't have different experience. So how we gonna write? Maybe the best would be one summer five goes half because we will have different.
That's why I said like.
maybe this is the one that will compare it like we have all these restaurants and we can compare like our experience. Yeah. It's just like how they choose. Just talking about judging.
Yeah, but I don't okay.
It's one
Just because I was ready to change.
Yeah, but if we take a look, so we also get channel.
I'm never ready. Is that right? Okay, actually, why don't we read assembly so we can stay who's going here. Who wants to go to?
I think we can do the presentation on the Google.
Oh, do you want
just like pair up and go
It
to
is switch.
then we can like exchange our thoughts.
combine it.
about how to devise it.
That's what
We
I
can
can
use
WhatsApp
this
group,
where
we
it's
can
down.
share the tasks and do the presentations. Then one person can
Yeah.
do it all, you know, in PowerPoint. I can do that. You can all send me. I mean, everyone that has like 3 slides, and then you send me your slides and I put it all, or one of us. Doesn't matter who.
Yeah, maybe you could like branded website. We can use how it's two different things.
What do you think? Why don't I make those?
Yeah, so maybe like e-commerce, ready to get it.
Oh,
Then like branded website.
okay.
And so yeah, I just would. It's like S. And the bar R.
So how, I mean, we are going to get used to how we do this.
I don't like it. It's like, I like to use
I like coding and stuff. So we're not reading, and now my coaching is off. And it looks like it's dirty, but it's just to be careful.
I use the-
Cleaning your screen
use
because
the, glasses.
yeah,
Later I use it.
yeah, but I use something like
Water?
cleaning thing in
Oh.
there. So
Oh.
no, like
Like a, chemical?
how do you say this? Like a
Yeah.
a white.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like something in there. It's like cleaning wipes, and now it's off. I went to the store already, but they can repair it. But then my stuff is gone for 5 days. I was like, never mind. Yeah,
No, I have this
but it
because.
looks like it's dirty. It's very like.
Like I
No,
spilled.
but I find it annoying.
Oh really? I spilled wine here and it broke from the corner. That's why I was like, I need
You
to.
have to write on there.
I know. I did it because I was like,
And then I took the computer and did that and all the tea was like going down.
I was drunk and I was
I think it is. So maybe I like
okay.
copy paste it again so we pair up so we both.
Oh, okay. So group 1, group 2 kind of thing.
Yeah, or group one here. And, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll answer these ones, and then should we actually put this there too, so that we can, or do you want to answer them for each one? For each one of these?
Maybe it's good to put it in.
Yeah. So I'll just put on the bottom so you
Yeah.
can think about it.
Yeah, it's just like this and then it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, we don't know yet.
Integrate.
Okay, I'll go with like
So,
yeah.
oh, you can
And now,
Is it good?
So we all,
Yeah, just give me one.
yeah, and just something else, like outside.
Maybe we have to wait.
Because now it's the current. Should we put it under the position of the store, like the location to the messages? Why? I don't know. Because she's pretty sure but do you think we have to walk should we go to other stores? For instance, you were on one street, should we go there or just I just want to check the one store in the South store. So the stuff is just okay, there's no place here or since there's only there is not. And we don't know how the one store in South what they have there. Okay. You can check accuracy. They have like the assistant here. I'm sure we should get how to size, but this is what it's like.
So basically,
No, it's just after we've done it, just only that we're looking for a present for a mom. Just help me blind and just ask you anything. Then you just say, come over, whatever. And just leave stuff.
we're gonna switch. We're gonna go and then switch. So group one will go here.
No, wait, yeah.
And then you switch again. Same.
I'll just say.
We're going to
Probably they have, I don't know why, also very different. I don't know why. They have different kinds of
I sent it. You should let me know.
So I don't know, you should even pretend that they're she said that's for them. Who would do the week on that?
And then we should figure like the time to meet at
She's older than us. I just didn't understand yesterday why this happened.
It's not like minutes. She said just review.
What should we tell without her?
Mr. Wade.
Or the
If it doesn't happen.
She wants to go out.
the file.
So
You just share it. Yeah, I don't understand how it's
You didn't get an email right now?
No, because I Google Sheets they have. Yeah, like but I know at the same time. We can just do that. Google at the same time.
I mean, decide now which days are you doing this? Yeah. Like now, immediately say, okay, we are doing the presentation Friday or something.
I can do it anytime. Today, I always wear it. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the best.
because we have to do the other things.
I always like it. I will see.
Yes. Maybe we can do it on Wednesday before the summer because we have this break 4 hours. We can stay longer active.
When's the
It's at 3, but we have from 11 till 3 we have our break. We can stay from 11 to 12 after the lecture. Then we just go upstairs. Yeah, go. Just not to go an extra page or something. When exactly like we're going to do the Dior and should we divide these points or should we do them together or the presentation?
I think everyone have to bring.
Ah, okay.
So we are doing like presentation, like we are comparing how the two of us have experience and how to everything like that or the old.
Oh, should we go with all? First, we should go to Louis Vuitton as well and just first I will put my experience in Dior and my experience in Louis Vuitton, and then first you put your experience. We have a different backgrounds and we can compare how they treat us.
And you know, I mean, we already then have double material because it's two groups. And we have like legs.
So weird.
Should we do
Which
it?
one did you?
Yeah, it's not all.
Yeah, probably to concentrate. Maybe we can do
Yeah,
not focus because we not look like
Or not look like
yeah, who is buying you, who is don't.
yeah. Maybe we should focus on the woman.
Oh, it's
Not everything. Because no point like we pretend we buy men's shoes or Dior men's
Yeah.
suits.
So you can more like concentrate on their accessories, or because this is probably the most probably affordable for us. And we have like especially bags and
We are going to
We just have copies. Who's coming to the book launch tomorrow?
And we can't need to be the road.
So copies have come in.
Which room is it in?
Well, if you haven't emailed me, unfortunately, it's a very limited space. So unless you've emailed me last week, there aren't any spaces left.
I thought it was the whole class, but she said she was going to take attendance and everything.
Who is going to take attendance?
And
Yeah, no, Nessa's going to take... Oh my God, yes, for you lot. Sorry, I get confused with the second group. Sorry, for you, yes. But for the second group, they've had to email me. Sorry, Dorothy, yes. Absolutely.
Which room?
It's on the... Have you had the email? Do you know on the email it says, no? Which room?
I know which room.
It's the Nat Gallery. Do you know what the Nat... do you want two per group?
Sure.
Because
Yeah, first one.
you're splitting up.
Oh, you're.
So yes, tomorrow it's in the Nat Gallery, which is that, you know the gallery next to reception. As you come into reception, you look to the left. Yeah, exactly. Come quickly, but I think there's going to be some gate crashes there. Apparently it's been put on the intranet and social media, which is not good. Harbour and Lisa, sorry.
No, I just want to remind you. Why? Oh, okay. I don't have time. So we will go in May.
I mean, if it's gonna take really quickly, then we can do it now because no problem.
Combined with the jewelry.
Because I don't know where it's going.
It's part of
I think we should not compete with them because they are like average level luxury places like this fitness for the Cersei, LA Fitness, they're all like average, they're not luxury.
Yeah.
There's no places, I don't know any like luxury. Yeah, they're fancy. But they will do surveys, Probably will go down for school and figure out how they're doing their luxury things, not about the price of the back, but also about the experience they're providing, the service, the heritage they're there.
Cartier is basically
The treatment
and there's no like put the technology inside the really rich jewelry that wouldn't feel like a wearable. So the older that would be stored on the hand, it would just
Yeah, I don't know where. Okay, yeah.